The numbers are improving, but it's a longish road.
Yeah, Tim, look, it's certainly a long way down from the 68,000 new cases a day that we're at in early January, and getting under a significant milestone of 10,000 cases a day in the last few days has really given some confidence. Deaths are also down from about 1,200 a day back in January down to only 300 odd over the last few days. So it's any deaths still too many. And the good news is the vaccination rollout is really continuing to shine and ramp up even further. And over a third of the population, we must nearly be at about the same number of people in the whole of Australia have already been vaccinated now in the UK.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's just over 18 billion that have been vaccinated. But how is the actual rollout going? We heard this week, obviously, here in Australia, we've had that overdose from 2 elderly patients in Brisbane. Are we hearing any ramifications from the UK in terms of vaccine complications?
No, not at all, actually, at this stage. In fact, the UK have done a really great job of getting it out. They've turned racecourses, they've turned football stadiums, they've turned local town halls into vaccination centres, they've mobilised the army and the forces, given the people training and got them to be jab providers. So the rollout is going exceptionally quickly. I think there was a great intervention actually this week by the Queen, and I don't know if you have the footage of it, but it was quite good. She was talking with the UK's chief medical people, and she said, "Oh yes, I had it back in January, and it was just a little jab. It was painless. It really wasn't a problem." And she understood why people who may not have had a vaccination in the past may be concerned, but that absolutely, she felt that it was important that they thought of others at this point in time, not just themselves.
It's hard to put a price tag on how valuable something like that is, and we're looking at some of the vision of the Queen here, and we heard it earlier in the show.
Yeah, look, it's a terrific leading person in the country who's well respected, not just in the country, but indeed around the world.
Yes, absolutely. David, the 4th round of the free trade agreement is underway. How's it going? Thanks,
Janie. Yeah, middle of the round, we don't get much information as it goes between days and across the 2 weeks. But what I can say is, leading into the round, there was certainly a lot of hope that there'd be a bit of movement on both sides around the initial market access quotas. It's obviously a negotiation, so the first number put on the table isn't always going to be the one accepted. So both sides had given those initial market access on goods at the end of last year in round 3. So we're hoping that might move forward a bit in this round. Also looking for services and investment to be started to be considered in this round as well. And we think there's some really good opportunities there. But it's now sort of, to be honest, it's February. We'd like to see this deal done. We believe that there's enough capacity at the Australian end, and we hope there is at the UK end. It's still being tested, obviously. These are the first negotiations that they've been involved in for quite some time. But also hoping to get on and get a deal done, hopefully by the middle of the year.
As the UK wrestles and gets the pandemic under control, what about economic recovery?
Yeah, look, obviously the UK had the biggest drop of any OECD country in Q2 last year. They argue that there's different ways that GDP is calculated, and so perhaps on different numbers they may not have been the biggest. But look, they rebounded really strongly by 16.3% in the third quarter. In Q4 last year, they went up by another percent, but obviously that was hampered again by another lockdown, and the last period probably isn't an accurate reflection of where the UK economy might go. They're still about 800,000 jobs short of where they were pre-pandemic, so that's a relatively good position to be in. And I think they've obviously got, similar to us, they've got programs in place like our Job Keeper. They've got a furlough scheme, and it's been adapted over the time, and I think that'll continue to be the case, and hopefully that will continue to keep their recovery headed in the right direction.
And David, can you tell us about the new links with the defence industry?
Yeah, well, it's been a really big week, actually, between Australia and the UK. There's defence industry ministers meeting in think the end of last week where that deal was signed. And then, of course, this week, the Space Bridge was signed on Tuesday, which brings our two space communities together, a space, pun not intended, that Australia's just getting into, and the UK has obviously been part of for quite a while, and obviously part of the European Space Agency during the EU times. So there's lots of work being done. We've seen investments from companies, including Airbus, who, whilst a European company, their satellites business is based out of the UK, and they've made some investments and are looking to invest further in Australia at the moment. Also, plenty across defence. So there's lots of good stuff happening in those areas, particularly around defence and space and technology transfer and opportunities for Australian businesses to be heavily involved in creating the new industry for us here in Australia.
David, both you and I, on a much lighter note, are huge cricket fans. What about the United Kingdom, or particularly England? How are they feeling after being beaten by India in 2 days, within 2 days in a test match?
Well, I haven't heard from my English friends as it happens, Timmy. They seem to be remarkably quiet at the moment. I think it's interesting. Cricket's a funny game, as we always say. And after the first Test victory, there were those who were already, lining up an Ashes whitewash for the UK or for England. I'm not quite so sure that they're as confident. But to be honest, the two pitches that they played on the last two Test matches, I mean, I'm not sure how anybody can bat on those, and I think the fact that the Indian batsman can get any runs at all in that contest is quite extraordinary in itself. But I'm not sure it's a fair contest when the ball's turning as much as that.
Yeah, it's been an interesting series, as was the Australia-India series, and we cannot wait for the Ashes. Hopefully there'll be some sort of celebration where we can get people over here and really enjoy those 5 Test matches. Always good to talk, Dave.
Good to talk to you, Tim. Thanks, Joni.